Hey, what's going on, good people? Welcome, Russ Can Fly. Listen, are accelerated training programs like IFR6 worth it? I say yes, and I've got 3 reasons why. Let's get into it. I'm instrument rated! So before I jump into number 1, I just want to preface this with, listen, accelerated programs are expensive. They do cost. And if you want the entire breakdown of the cost that I spent for IFR6, definitely check out this video. This is just a screenshot of the thumbnail for the video. It is in the members only section. I put it over there because anytime I'm talking about resources, I like to just put it in a controlled environment where people who really want the information can have access to it. But if you do want that information, it is there, and I break down every cost down to the penny. And there is, it does have some gravity to it. But having said that, I think it's worth it for these reasons. Number 1, I've talked about this phenomenon before, and one of the things that made this worth it for me was I needed clarity in terms of how I was going to get from where I currently was in my training to the finish line. Let me explain. One of the things that was definitely happening during my training is I would have these fits and starts in terms of what I was doing regarding my instrument training. There would be weeks where I might fly twice a week. Woohoo! And that was great because I can then begin to build this muscle memory. Also, I could use a skill that I may have, maybe figured out on a Wednesday, and now it's Friday, and I can hone that skill. Sometimes it was something inside the airplane. Sometimes it was something on the radio, a specific radio call, something like that. But I was able to cement that knowledge because I had flown multiple times that week. The problem is that didn't always happen. There would be times where from the 1.5 years it took me from the first time I did my first instrument flight lesson to when I actually, became, official, I was sometimes not flying at all. In fact, there'd be times where maybe like 2-3 weeks would happen, and some of it was just weather determinative. You remember, Charlie had, an issue on my annual in terms of wing repair, all of that kind of stuff. One of the things that happens very quickly in instrument training, and I think any training for that fact, and I think this even is good for PPL as well, not just instrument. The more you fly, the more you can get to a point where the information that you're learning becomes solidified, in your knowledge base. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, one time it was a month that I didn't do any IFR training. That skill deteriorates rapidly. And so because of that, sometimes I would like to, take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, then maybe 2 steps forward, then 1 step back, then 1 step forward, 4 steps back. And so it was always kind of like this, it's like seesaw effect. With IFR6 and some of these accelerated programs, that does not happen. Even though it's in a Part 91 environment type of situation, it really does feel like a Part 141 school from the standpoint that there is a syllabus, you know exactly what you're going to be doing each day, what each day is supposed to happen. You do a debrief on that day, and then it's the next day, and then it's the next day. The other thing is you're doing a ton of training. My minimum amount of training between Sim and Tom and Charlie was 6 hours. One day it was, I think I started at like 8:30. I got back to my room at like 8 o'clock. It was nuts. And I can't tell you the number of approaches. I think on one day I did maybe like 10 approaches between the sim and the airplane. And so because of that, I had clarity of what was going to happen on day 1, what was going to happen on day 2, and so on. But the other thing I had clarity on is I knew my check ride was coming on day 7. Period. End of discussion. Now, of course, that's not guaranteed. Life can't guarantee you anything other than one day you're not going to have it. And that's, that's just the only thing that is guaranteed is like not being on this earth at some point. But as much as things can be guaranteed, this accelerated program is going to do it for you. You know what you're going to do each day. You know what skill you're trying to work on. But the other thing that's cool is you know where your strengths are, but you also know where your weaknesses are. And that training then begins to hone in on those places where you're weak. Brilliant. And so that's the first point. You have clarity. You know what's going to happen. You know what to expect. And you know that at the end of it, there's a check ride that has already been scheduled. And for that, it takes the pressure off in terms of, am I going to fly today? Oh, what's the weather going to be like next week? Oh, is the CFI going to be available, a couple weeks from now? Am I going to be able to fly with this same person? There is none of that. You get a flight instructor. That flight instructor is dedicated to you. And here's the thing. I can't speak for any other accelerated program, but I know for IFR6, Jared was my flight instructor for the week. He did nothing else but beat up on Russell. And so for that, I think it's well worth it, because that's what I needed, especially given the fact that, I am a professional in other places that allows me to, burn money in this thing that makes no financial sense, but it's just such a beautiful thing. But because of that, I can't come out here during the week. It was just a weekend thing. But I knew, okay, I can take some vacation time, have clarity, purpose, and get out there and make it happen. So for that reason, definitely worth it. Number two, the other reason why I think it's worth it is I call it, it's time to push the baby phenomenon. Now, what do I mean by that? So this is just such a weird thing, but I remember so clearly my wife and I, were blessed with, being able to get pregnant, and we go through that whole thing, and it's time. My wife gives me the elbow. Hey, listen, I think my water just broke. And of course I freak out. But at any rate, we go over to the hospital, we do the whole thing, and there's all kinds of stuff, and we're, getting nervous, and, and at one point, my wife declared to everyone in the world, I've got to push. It came out of nowhere. And yes, she was in the throes of labor. There had been contractions, all that kind of stuff. She had been breathing through. But at this point, something kicked in where she's like, I've got to push. Well, your training should get like that as well. There should be a time where it's time to have the baby. And I know this may sound crazy, but I had that feeling. I can remember training. I was in with Vanessa. I was in with Keith. I was in with a couple other flight instructors before them. The year went by, and the idea of actually taking an IFR check ride was a non-reality, period. I couldn't see clarity in terms of what I was doing in the airplane, and getting somebody from the FAA or DPE to come in there and test me on that skill set. I couldn't see how I was gonna get there. But it was one day I landed, and of course, the one bell that was ringing, and if you guys haven't seen this before, one of the things that was looming large was when you take your written exam, you've only got 24 calendar months before that exam expires. And so you have to get to either take the check ride or be prepared to take the exam again. And so that's what was looming large on my radar screen, because I did not want to take the exam again, because, I took Shepherd's Air and I didn't want to have to do that. I didn't know if I was going to have to get another endorsement from Sporties. So that was just another financial hit that I didn't want to take. Plus, I'd gotten a 90%, so I felt pretty good about my result. So I wanted to do my check ride and finish that with that exam under my belt. And so that was looming, but at some point, that notwithstanding, I just felt this urge. I have got to get this done. That's when you say, number two, this program is made just for you. Because if you are feeling that urge, that need, that want to just, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of training. I think I'm got the skill set. I'm close. There's just some things I need to tighten up. There's some things that I'm a little loose in the curves, but I just need to fly, and I just need to train, and I just need to just eat, sleep, drink, instrument rating, or even PPL training, for a specific period of time and just get myself over the hurdle, this is for you. And so that push the baby phenomenon makes these accelerated training programs perfect for somebody like you. Definitely made it for me because I was ready. I'm ready to just, I don't know what to expect in this this check ride. I know it's gonna be tough, but I am just ready to not be pregnant anymore. And I know, please don't flame me, and I'm not trying to be sexist, and hopefully this is not coming off as such, but that's the best way I can explain the feeling that I had. I just had to get this done. I was tired of being an instrument rating training student and having a rating training student experience. I was ready to be a instrument rating rated pilot, period. And so this program was like, we got you. Pay us a bunch of money, come on down to South Carolina, and we got you, bro. So that would be the second reason why, you just feel that it's time. You have trained, you have, done all the things, you've got your written behind you. Man, you may even have your long cross country. You've checked a lot of boxes, but you just can't see how you're gonna get from here to there, but you want this pregnancy to end. You're ready to have the baby. IFR6 and these accelerated programs are just for you. Make it happen. And the third reason why I think they're, and I won't belabor this, but the third reason why I think that these programs are worth it is, life is short. I don't know about many of you, but I'm not a youngster. And I wanted to be able to get this rating in time to be able to enjoy it, to actually be able to fly it. Now, I'm not trying to be morbid, but this is just the fact. Your boy, as I stand here, I'm clear that I have more yesterdays than tomorrows. That's just a fact. And even if I do have an equal amount, I don't know if the gray matter will be such that I'll be able to certainly won't be able to still do any of this. And so I've got a finite period of time where now I can do and feel comfortable to do some of the bigger trips because I won't feel that I may get stuck not by some crazy weather, but if you're watching this video and you're an aviator, you know what I'm talking about. You're at the airport and there's this like thin crust layer of, clouds, and it's reporting broken, at 800 feet, but you can see peaks of sky through it, but you can't fly because the field is determined to be IFR only. And imagine, if you will, you're on a trip and you're somewhere and that's happening, and you wait and you wait and you wait, and that day goes by. Now, sometimes life is like that, right? I've had my own situation where I had to divert. The most important thing you can have in your safety toolkit as an aviator, as a general aviation pilot, is a credit card. And so that's gonna happen from time to time. But man, to be stuck, for something that's kind of like minor or whatever. So that's why I definitely didn't want to do longer trips. The Sun and Funs, the Oshkoshes, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, for some of those types of flights, because I was just worried about being stuck somewhere and I just wouldn't be able to get out. But now that I have my rating, not as worried about that. Still need to be cognizant of my personal minimums for instrument flying, and I do have them, but at least it doesn't preclude me from making a flight just because there may be some marginal VFR conditions or whatnot. So from that standpoint, it basically got me over the finish line in a finite period of time after this other period of time that had already run. And here's the thing, I wasn't sure that even without IFR6 at this point that I'd still be rated, because listen, for whatever reason, Doylestown, the weather was just kind of weird and things were just weird. And so I couldn't see clarity in terms of how I was going to get over that hump. And look, my flight instructors here at Doylestown at Leading Edge, they're amazing, but I'm competing with the rest of the flight school with them, right? So that was going to take more time. That's time to but your boy may not have. So for that reason, that's why it makes sense. You know, you've got finite time. Time is of the essence. You want to spend your time flying, not a bunch of time training. Yes, we got to do recurrent. Yes, we got to do all of that kind of stuff. Going to do some stuff in the sim to make sure I continue to do my 6 hits, to stay current and proficient, all that kind of stuff. But the training, it was starting to get old, and it was time to make it happen. And so that would be the third reason why I think accelerated programs like IFR6, well worth it. So in the final analysis, am I glad I did it? Absolutely, because I'm instrument rated. Was it expensive? Yes. And again, you can check out this video if you want to see that, you know, how much that costs, as I break down everything: fuel, lodging, meals, all of that kind of stuff. But I think every penny that I spent was well worth it, you know. And here's the deal, you know, not only has the training got me to my instrument rating, this training, this 2-year effort to get this instrument rating is well worth it. I'm convinced I am such a better and safer pilot now that I have this instrument rating and I have this training. There's things that I understand about weather and flight planning and stuff that, not to say that as a VFR pilot I didn't have some idea, but not the knowledge and not the type of analysis that I do now. And certainly things like heading and altitude, just much more disciplined. And I like that. I like the fact that I fly with more discipline, and I fly in a way and in an environment that's safer. And I like being, you know, in the system. And I like talking to ATC because I like them knowing where I am and what I'm doing. And I like to have some directions and vectors and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been fantastic from that standpoint. So that's it. I know, a really quick video. Those are the 3 points. I think it just makes sense from the standpoint that, you know, you have clarity in terms of what your training is going to be. It allows you to, again, you know, get over the hump, push the baby out, bring the baby, you know, to the earth and, you know, get it done, you know. And finally, it saves time. You know, it is a finite time. It's a fire hose living at the time. That's all you're doing. You're going to be very selfish. It's a very narcissistic feel to it because it's all about you and your airplane or the rental aircraft and the CFI, and that's it. And, you know, me being married and I have a daughter and all that kind of stuff, I was not talking to them as much. I was basically just out of pocket. But it all came together in that finite time of 7 days where I had no idea how this was going to happen or when it was going to happen, to knowing exactly what was going to happen and when it was going to happen, and it did. So that's it. Hopefully this video is helpful to make you understand whether or not this is for you. It is not for everybody. I'm gonna tell you right now. And there are criteria, and you need to meet those criteria. I think some of the criteria in terms of, one of the things is have at least 10 hours of flight training. I would up that. I would say somewhere between 15 and 20 is a sweet spot. Because remember, you're gonna go down there and it's all day, every day. You know, so you want to have a good solid foundation of training under your belt. The other thing is, I would say, is you definitely want to make sure that you have your long cross country done. Just have that done and make sure it is measured properly, because one of the horror stories I've been hearing is people do a long cross country on the IFR only to have the DPE, because they're going to check. How do I know? The DPE specifically looked for a few things. Of course, the training, all that kind of stuff. But he asked me specifically, hey, show me where you did your long cross country, you know, your 250 and all that kind of stuff. And he spent some time, he marked it down, he wrote down every airport. Then he went on a computer and I could see he was looking at, you know, from Doylestown to Harrisburg. Okay, what was that leg from Harrisburg to Delaware Coastal? What was that leg from Delaware Coastal back to Doylestown? He looked at that, measured it, was looking and said, okay. And once he saw the distance, then he went back and said, okay, which approach? Okay, we did this. Okay, good. So there was a good 2 minutes of just making sure that that 250 was where it needed to be. So I would definitely have that under your belt as well. Now, who is it not for? It's not for people who probably you just got your private pilot's license. I don't know. If you're one of those folks who, you know, you're just a savant, like you just, you know, this flying just comes to you like some music and symphonies come to some composers, right? Then probably fine. But more likely than not, you just want to take some time, build some time. Don't try to build your time in the actual program. I don't think that would be a good use of your time or money. Build your time in your own way at your own pace. Okay, so if you have any questions, definitely leave me a comment down below. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Am I satisfied with the program? Yes. Am I glad I did it? Yes. Am I glad I spent all that money? No, but yes. You know, because who's ever glad to spend a lot of money? But it was money well spent. It was well worth it, and I'm instrument rated. And, you know, next week I'm going to be doing a bunch of instrument flying. You know, I got some flights that I want to do. I want to go back down south. I want to go around the DC area now because I used to be really intimidated about that. I want to go out west and do some flying out that way. I want to do Oshkosh. There's just so many things I want to do, and the door is now open for me to do it. So that's it. I thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I know these talking head videos kind of suck. It's always better to be in the airplane, but I definitely wanted to give this download while my mind was still fresh on the experience. And I did think, I wonder if people are wondering whether or not I think this is worth it and who is this for? And I think that's why I wanted to make this video. So with that, that's it. Russ Kid, Russ Can Fly, I'm out. Thank you so much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. See ya. Peace.